Yes, what's happening, people? We're back. 12th man is back. Play to the whistle's back, but I am definitely not Sophie Nicolau. Trust me. Bless her. She's not well enough, man. And I wish her well. And I want to say thank you to her as well, because she hosted this absolutely amazingly last time. She's such a good girl, man. And I hope that she's going to be back soon, feeling well, on Highbury squad, and of course on 12th man. So we wish Sophie well. But I've got some very different people and a bit of an elite panel, to be fair. But big up to my bro Albert JTV. Albert, how you been, bro? It's been way too long, man.
I know, man. I was getting anonymous emails saying they thought I'd been extra in the channel, man. I was thinking that person said
never, bro, never, man, never.
No, it's good to be back. Dad, sometimes I'm watching the background silently on your channel, man. You do get some interesting guests, man. I'll give you that.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, everyone's welcome here, but sometimes I think, do I regret inviting this person on? Dear me. But, it's what it is. Everyone's got an opinion, man. Big up to you, bro. Make sure you're following Albert JTV, putting out brilliant content. Going to be doing some watch-alongs on the channel as well, which will be great this season. So big up to you for doing that, bro. I appreciate that. While I'm out at the games, you'll be watching on the channel. So big up to you, man. And we also have back Olivia, with a different hairstyle. Every time I see you, you've got a new trim. Talk to me, Liv. How you been? You good?
It's me. Yeah, good. Happy to be back. Thanks for having me on again.
Nah, come on, you're welcome every time. You know that. And Kenya, it's do you know what, Ken? I was supposed to get you on, Kate, last time, but you weren't about. Now you're available. Yeah. Other people aren't available. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but you've come on. Thank you. Big up to you.
Thanks for having me.
No, come on, every time, you know that. And look, I suppose we should start with pre-season and what your thoughts are so far, to be fair. But people, hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're about 230 away from 50K. So let's see if we can get to the big 5-0 before we get to Old Trafford. That is my target. My target was 50K before we kick a ball properly in the Premier League. So we've still got a few days. So let's make sure we can do it, people. Hit subscribe. It's free. Hit the like button as well. Make sure you're following all these guys as well. Kenya, let me start with you, actually. What have you made of pre-season? We've had 2 games against AC Milan and Newcastle, which some people said was quite good to watch in parts. And we've had 2 games against Spurs and Villarreal, which have not been too positive at all. So what have you made of it so far?
I've just said since we've played all these games that every game we've looked exactly the same as we did last season. Don't get me wrong, it's been good results, beating AC Milan, beating Newcastle. But if I'm being honest, the style of play, the way we've played, the way some players look, it's just very reminiscent of last year, and that worries me quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah. But
it is a worry, and I've got to be honest, I've seen a lot this season that reminds me already of the negatives of last season in terms of a style of play. And I don't know what you think about this, Kay, right? But I think it doesn't matter at the moment who we actually put out there. The style of play has got to change.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think, do you know what? A lot of the players that we might have issues with are being impacted by style of play. So I think even small things like, why not put Martin Odegaard on the left-hand side and Declan Rice on the right-hand side? We already know that we've got Declan Rice, who's so comfortable on the right. Why not put him in one of his better positions, make him more comfortable so he can be more fluid? And then that someone like Odegaard can help out someone like Martinelli, who's basically a no man's land all the time, has no one to really be around him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think style of play is so, as I say, it's so boring, so methodical. There's no flair in it. And I just feel like the only people that have been able to get something good out of the style of play is Saka and Ethan, and Max Dowman as well. And funny enough, they all on the right side. Like, it's just, I look at that style of play and I'm like, how are we supposed to win anything with this style of play? It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not feeling it at all, to be honest.
Nah, I got to be honest, I'm with you, mate. I'm totally with you. Liv, I don't know if you have any difference of opinions to pre-season so far. What have you seen that's impressed you? What have you seen that concerns you?
We'll start off with the positives. Max Dowman, my goodness. But his fearlessness, he's not afraid to take on 2-3 man And then the thing that I saw that impressed me the most about this boy, is when he won that penalty against Joelinton. Any other player that had been dragged or whatever, do you think they would have got up after falling down? He got up, regained possession, and was ready to keep going. And it's just like it's one of those things where it's like you can just tell he's not been in the Prem, like in the first team, because there's a tendency for players in the first team to try and get fouls here and there, go down easily, ref, There was none of that. He got up, he was ready to go again, and he got the pen, and then he just got us another one again. And it's like, my fear is that whether that be Arteta's overcautious sort of gameplay that he's adopted since last season, or whether it's just like that Prem style of just going down and complaining and doing all of this gymnastics is what I call it. I just don't touch that boy. Please leave him. I really hope he doesn't lose that spark about him, because it's so impressive. And we saw similar stuff from Nwaneri and Lewis-Skelly the season before, and I think that's just so telling that look, these they come through the ranks, they get to the first team, and they start to do all of these behaviours that and it's so refreshing to see such a young boy. But I think it's also really telling again about Arteta's coaching and just the Premier League in general.
Facts. I mean, look, Max Dowman's been the positive that everyone's speaking about. And when you get kicked, like Liv's saying, and you get back up at 15, wow, like this kid's absolutely fearless, has got something about him. And I know a lot of people are talking about Rooney at that age and Messi at that age and Owen at that age and Lamine Yamal at the moment, who's only a couple of years older. When you're being spoken about in that kind of company, we got our absolute border on our hands, man. No matter what level he gets to, he's going to be an unbelievable player, to be fair. But look, I've got to be honest with you, Albert. I've seen enough to see already that Ethan Nwaneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, and Max Dowman are going to be absolute ballers for us. I know for a fact they're going to make it into the squad and at some stage into the first team. What do they do now with Max Dowman? Because at 15 years old, I'm seeing him performing better than Martinelli. He's been better than Odegaard this preseason. He's actually coming on for Saka. We're not missing Saka because Dowman's taking it to that next level. I've got to protect him, but at the same stage, if you're good enough, you're old enough, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we heard about Max Dowman for quite a bit, but I think the biggest compliment I can pay him, not necessarily with what he's done in preseason, is the way rival fans talk about him. They're like, I wish we had this kid in our ranks, to be honest with you. So that's a good barometer to kind of measure it against. But was he still doing his GCSEs, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, unbelievable. He will get a game time done. I don't think that's kind of the issue. It's just, I think for me, the only problem I look at with him is the manager going to give him some game time? I'm not talking about starting him in games, because Ethan's a good example, Dan, for example, because you look at last season when Arsenal were down to their bare bones, and he still didn't put Ethan on even for 5-10 minutes just to even give us a different look or to change a game. So that would be my only concern. But he will get minutes. I know people talk about the cup games. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But, our FA Cup record recently, for example, hasn't been great. So we might not be able to give him game time in that competition, for example. But then obviously you've got the League Cup as well. But I think with him, Dan, it's just bedding him in slowly in terms of him being what we didn't have last season, particularly, is someone to be a game changer. How Mikel manages that, I don't know, but I think in a way, it's a good thing in a way that we're getting to see him showcase his talents. But also, what you don't want is to put pressure on a 15-year-old to be your star player or your go-to player in a group of players, quite frankly, that have played together for a good 3 or 4 years. That's not a good look overall. So the other players need to step up. But Max Dowman, I expect to see him get some minutes here and there in the Premier League, but that needs to be managed. That needs to be managed very, very well, even as talented as he is.
Yeah, he's massively talented. Kenya, do you think he'll get Premier League minutes, or do you think it'll be cup games, Carabao's, FA Cups, maybe, depending on who we get in the Champions League, some of the lower kind of European teams? Do you think he'll get minutes there, or do you think we'll actually see quite a lot of Max Dowman?
if I'm being honest, I don't think we'll see as much of him as we probably want. I think we still have to remember this is a 15-year-old kid. He's he's going to be 16, I think, at the end of the year. If anything, you might see him in a couple of cup competitions. He might make the bench for a few Premier League games. I'm not sure if he's old enough for the Champions League, but I want to see more of him. But we also have a duty of care to protect the kid, essentially, because that's what he is. He is a kid. But I wouldn't be against seeing him like in early rounds of the Carabao Cup or maybe the FA Cup, depending on the opponents. We'll have to see. I don't think he'll be as involved in the Premier League as we all probably want or think, to be honest. But
yeah. Is that my Wi-Fi or is that Kenya's Wi-Fi?
Oh, is it me?
I think it's
Yeah, it might be. It might be Kay. It might be you, but you just lagged out for a bit there. But that was all.
Oh, right. Sorry. No. I hope I heard what I said.
No, I did. I did get what you said. It's just when you stopped, I was thinking, is that me or is that you? So yeah, no. It's calm. No, I've got you. You're back now. No. Look, I'm a fan of him. I want to see a lot of him because he's excited me. At the same time, he's 15, and we got to remain a little bit, feet around with that and see that. We've got to let the team and the professionals know how fit he is and what he needs and how he gets molded into this side. But I wanted to talk about the striker situation, Liv, very quickly, because Victor Gyökeres got 17 minutes against Spurs, and then he got, I think it was just under 50 for Villarreal. And rival fans are messaging me, like pretending to do the celebration, saying, why has he not scored yet? Why has he not got a hat-trick yet? All this rubbish. Like, this guy's not fit yet. This guy's hardly played yet. And I don't think we're playing to his strengths, if I'm honest with you. So, how do we get the best out of Victor Gyökeres for you? Because I think Mikel Arteta's got to change his playing style if we're going to see anything here. Because the game I saw the other night, he's literally standing there waving his arms saying, someone please provide me something. Someone give me creativity. Someone give me the ball. And I said, come deep and get it. But at the same time, I don't really want him to be doing that. That's not what we bought him for. So I think there's a creativity problem still at Arsenal, Liv. I've got to be honest. And if we don't change that, I don't think we're going to see the best of any striker that we got at Arsenal.
Completely agree with everything you said. I think for me, the amount of times I saw him against Villarreal make a run, and have to trot right back because no one was giving him nothing. And I'm like, oh my God. So we've got this prolific gunman, a very direct player, right? Who likes to make an early run and likes an early ball. And we're acting like we don't have a number 9. What was the point? What was the point of bringing in this number 9? You have to adjust yourself to his strengths. And what worries me is that we spent so long on Sesko, and it was very apparent that Arteta wanted Sesko because Sesko fits our current style of play more, right? So that makes me think Arteta has no intention to change his style of play because initially he wanted Sesko. We spent a long time on that. And now we've got Gyökeres. He can't seriously think that we can keep doing sideways football and all this, taking the gas out of the counter and not being direct whatsoever when we've got a man there that, all right, he might not be involved in as much build-up play, but we know his strengths. He's direct and he needs to get on the end of it. If we're not releasing that ball in the transition early enough for him to get on the end of, then there's absolutely no point having brought him in. We must adjust. And I always remember this interview I watched of Henry, and he said every time players were coming in and out or whatever, he'd adjust the way he would feed the ball, to each player. And that's what made that team so successful, was the diversity. We've got absolutely no diversity in our style of play. It is so robotic, and that will not work. And we're embarrassing so I've forgotten it.
Gyökeres.
We're embarrassing the poor guy, because he's there. Yeah. He is making the runs, and he's going for it. And what are we doing? Waiting for everybody to catch up and all of this. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Nah, I'm with you, man. Look, Albert, me and you were bigging up this signing. We wanted him for a long time. And we said that this was the guy that we'd have if Isak wasn't available. It turns out Isak probably is available. It looks like he's going to Liverpool, but that's another story. However, I think you were probably even more so than me excited about Victor Gyökeres, and I made it quite clear that was the guy I wanted. How do we get the best out of him, bruv?
Yeah, it was the man that I wanted. Wish lists do come true, Dan, sometimes, man. I didn't think it would happen. I'm going to be honest, when I had that conversation with Canton and obviously did some stuff on my channel. But I think the guys have touched it before, really. And I've heard this spoken a lot, sort of on podcasts and on my channel. Dan, I've had said this on your channel before. It don't matter if we bring in Gyökeres, Sesko, the second coming of Pele, Maradona. It doesn't matter. We have to change the way we play. I mean, if you just look at from basic statistical point of view in terms of goals scored, 3 seasons ago, 88 goals scored. The season after that, 91 goals scored. Last season, 69. There's a reason for that. And the drop-off is massive. Getting a gunman and a striker in is obviously going to help. But I had 3 famous words I kept using last season, Dan, when I was speaking about Arsenal. Copy, paste, repeat. We went to some of the games last season. I mean, the one that stands out for me was the Ipswich game 2 days after Christmas, the Everton game, the Kevin Campbell derby 10 days before Christmas. Dan, the games were absolutely awful. The football was terrible. And I remember messaging my Liverpool mate, big up Dowman. I said, I think they played Fulham that day and Liverpool drew with 10 men. And I said, if you keep your head, Liverpool win this league. And that was in December 2024. So we have to play to his strengths. He's a bully of a striker, but I think the biggest issue you got with Arsenal, Dan, in terms of trying to get the best out of Gyökeres and how we play, we move the ball so slowly. If you look at a proportion of our games last season, the amount of possession we have in our own half, as opposed to being in the final third and moving the ball quickly, it's absolutely night and day. It's chalk and cheese. And for people that bring up the injuries, which was a factor last season, I understand that. But then I said this on Hybrid Score, big up Sophie and get better soon. We played Brighton away last season, 1-1, 4th of January. And I said then in the chat, I said, maybe, irrespective of whatever you think of the players at Arsenal and the playing staff and the rest of it, I'm looking at a group of players for me that need to hear a new voice. Now, the pushback I got that day was incredible. I couldn't believe it. Because I'm thinking, whether you're a team going for a league title or going for European places or trying to stave off relegation, you have to have a gunman to help you out. You just do. Because goals win football matches. Yes, the defensive side of it, Arsenal are pretty good in the last 2-3 years. We've got a very good defensive record, but we have to change the way we play, man. It's too slow. I mean, Zubimendi is a good signing because from what I've seen of him, and when you watch him play, Dan, is very, very rare he takes more than 3 touches of the ball. There's a reason for that, because he gets you quicker up the pitch. Martin Odegaard, I've said it before, I've said it even before he had the fantastic season 2 seasons ago. He holds onto the ball too long. He slows a majority of our play down when we're in possession.
Yeah.
And he still does it. There's other intricacies in the team, Martinelli not getting his head up and not being influential, but we moved the ball too slow. And to get the best out of Big Victor, Glock 14, we're going to have to move the ball quicker. The wide forwards are going to have to be more of a danger offensively rather than just being fantastic off the ball and helping out the fullbacks. We're not going to win the league like that. We have to move the ball quicker. Now, is that going to happen coming into season? I'm not too sure. And I said it, Dan, before I finish up quickly. One of the biggest signings Arsenal were going to make at the time when I said it wasn't a striker, wasn't a wide forward, wasn't a midfield player, sporting director. And we got the guy that I wanted personally.
Yeah.
But the reality is it comes down to the tactics. And with a Mikel is tactically flexible enough. Some people think he's an amazing coach tactically. I actually think he's regressed. And you don't get 14 draws in the season just through injuries. 21 points plus loss was that from winning positions?
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. If we're going to try and win the Premier League, there's going to have to be a massive sea change in the manager's mentality in terms of how we set up. Because if we don't do that, this is going to be a long season, pre-season or not.
Bro, I think you're spitting facts, if I'm honest. I've got to be honest. I think you're spitting facts. There's nothing there I disagree with, man. I think Mikel Arteta does have to have a look at himself. And Kenya, I've got to be honest. I bring this up all the time. The season of 22-23, I actually loved watching Arsenal. Like, we were blitzing teams. We were 8 points clear. The attack football was there. We were frightening to watch. Everyone was scared of us. Why have we changed? Like, that was the same manager. It wasn't many players different, really. The midfield might be a little bit different now because there's no Partey or Xhaka, but we've spent a hell of a lot of money on midfield since then. Around 400 million's been spent, in fact, on our midfield. And we don't seem to be the same team now, Kenya. I don't get why.
I just think I always go back to that loss to Man City, man, in the season. I just think that 4-1 loss at the Etihad, I just feel like something changed that day. It's like we became in our shell, like, I don't know what it is. And it's really frustrating because you look at the 23-24 season, which is my personal favorite. We went on a second half of the season, we were in teams for fun. Do you know what I mean? We went to Dubai. We were like, right, the way we're playing before that, it's very, as I was saying earlier, methodical. You know, there was no flair in it. We came off that trip, said, scrap all that. We're just going to play football as football should be played. And we were just thrashing teams left, right, and centre. And I don't know what's changed since then, but I agree heavily with what Albert says in the fact that we've drastically, like, I watched that. Don't get me wrong, it's pre-season. I'm not a person to say that pre-season it's important, but I'm not going to get carried away with it. They are friendly games. Obviously, the intensity is not to the same level. But I look at those season games, especially the Villarreal one, and I'm just like, where's the intensity? Where's the patterns of play? Where's it almost looked the carbon copy of last season, where I'm just relying on Saka's brilliance, or I'm relying on Ethan Nwaneri's brilliance, or now I'm relying on Max Dowman to do something good. And I'm looking at this play like, why can I see it? Why can you see it? Why can everyone else here see it? But our manager, who we know tactically can do a really good job, has shown us tactical masterclasses before. Now he's just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. We're going to be super slow. We're going to be very methodical. And that means, someone like Martinelli, who's just chaos uncontrolled, we're telling him to touch, but that's not his strength. And we're all wondering why, he can't, he's heads down, he's not getting past his man. I just think, as Albert was saying, I think Albert just really hit the nail on the head. We've tactically regressed. It's quite painful to watch, to be honest.
It is, man. It's been painful to watch the last couple of games, that's for sure. Yeah. Liv, something else that's kind of concern to me, yeah? And I'll ask you this, Liv, the left-hand side of Arsenal. I don't know what's going on with Martinelli. I've tried to defend him as best I can. I'm struggling now. Ødegaard is more on the right, but I think he's got to come over to the left and help. Declan Rice, I love him, but I've got problems with him in the advanced 8. I don't think he's a Gerrard. I think he's a holding midfield, box-to-box midfield player. And Lewis-Skelly I love, but when he's inverting, we've got problems down the left-hand side at times as well. So I don't know what it is, Liv. I think the creativity is an issue. And the left-hand side of Arsenal, let's just have it right. It hasn't been good for easily 18 months to 2 years now. So I think there needs to be reinforcements coming in on that left-hand side to allow for some creativity. There's links with Eze. There's been links with Lookman, Rodrigo, and Rafael Leao. Do you think Arsenal are going to look in and getting a couple of players in still? Because I feel we need to now, Liv.
Well, we have to. We absolutely have to. This has been a problem. I think my first ever fan camp on AFTV, I think it was like September, October time. And that's what I remember just going, it's so evident to everybody how good our right-hand side is and how defenders flock to Saka. And, and also shout out to Ben White, yeah, because I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does in not only defensively, but aiding that attack on the right? So him making those late runs, they are honestly, it allows Saka to do what he needs to do, right? The problem is that obviously down the left, We've got nothing going on. Teams know we've got nothing going on. God forbid we go down the middle. God forbid, because they know we're not going to do that either. And that is how easily we get closed down every time. So I feel like that left wing position should have been a priority from last summer, right? And people are going to say, fine, we've got Madueke, he can play on the left. From what I've seen, and I do not watch every Chelsea match, please don't get me wrong. But from what I've seen, glimpses of like quality from Madueke, it's been on the right. That's his preferred position. He plays on the right. His goal contributions have largely come from the right channel. So he's not the answer to our left. I've heard people go, oh, Madueke, oh, we've done it. Our left-hand side has been boosted. It hasn't. We need Rodrigo or Eze, right? And I also shout out to Tierney, because when Tierney would come on, he would aid that left-hand side so well. And I think he was so underrated in doing that. His overlapping and his crosses the box from the left. We cannot rely on, he did more of that than what we needed. But what we need from Martinelli, right? I saw more of that in Tierney in his 3-4 appearances last season. So we obviously have to do something there. And if we come to the end of the window now and we're relying on Madueke on the left and Martinelli, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you on Kieran Tierney. I really liked Kieran Tierney, and I thought he got a hard time when people said that he needed to go because he's injury prone. When we've got Tomiyasu, Thomas Partey, Zinchenko, and all these men that were much more injury prone than him. However, we've obviously moved on from Tierney. He doesn't want to overlap in left back. He clearly wants one that inverts. I've got no problem with inverting sometimes, but I can't see that as happening all the time. We need to sometimes overlap and get the balls in, because Martinelli's not beating his man, and he's not the one-on-one demon that Madueke has been brought in to be, right? So maybe Madueke is going to be our left winger. I personally don't think he will. I think he can play on both, it seems, but I don't want him starting, really. I want to see a Rafael Leao. I want to see a Rodrigo, a Lookman playing ahead of Martinelli. Hopefully we bring in one of those, and Eze. Creativity is a big issue, though, Al, but I've got to bring it up, bruv. It's been an issue for a while. Martin Ødegaard has had a problem in the last 18 months or so with his goals and assists drying up. It doesn't seem to be the same Martin Ødegaard. We've mentioned Martinelli on the left-hand side. It feels at the moment that in our attack, if Saka has a bad day, we don't score or assist. So that's got to change, bruv, isn't it?
Yeah, Mikel is incredibly stubborn. And Dan, if I'm going to be really honest, I think he still carries the mental scars of the last couple of years. Hence the reason why we play the way we play. And the thing is, it's not just, I know, Pete, listen, Dan, we've had this conversation many, many times before. I don't have, massive sentiment towards the players. I like players. I want them to do well at Arsenal, but not to the point where I'm completely blinded and they've got to stay at Arsenal. We've got to get behind him. I understand all that talk. I've seen that growing up all my years watching Arsenal. But the thing for me is, in terms of the creativity, look, for example, with Martin Ødegaard, Dan, it's not just about last season. If you look at the amount of times, maybe someone in the chat wants to pull it up if they can, with short notice, but Martin Ødegaard has been hooked a lot of times in an Arsenal shirt in games. Now, that's not because, sometimes it might be because he's tired. Sometimes it might be because they got another game coming up in the week. But Dan, that's your captain. And even before he was a captain, it was still happening. And the reason why you're getting hooked is because you're not affecting games. So when I hear the conversation on other platforms or socials, and they say, and Dan, one thing I wanted to ask as well to some of your rival fan guys, LB and all them guys, I don't know what Kenya and Liv feel, but it really, really winds me up when I hear sections of fans go, it's blocking the pathway for Dowman or Waneri, or it's blocking. You get the best in class. That's what I've always believed and told. People have to earn their stripes. You look at the conversation with Phil Foden at Man City for years. People were crying out for him to be in the team, and Pep held back. You've got to earn your right. If Arsenal, for example, are going to go and push for the Premier League, I'm talking about the Premier League specifically, are we going to have a better chance with integrating Dowman and Waneri at certain points in the season, or you're bringing a Victor Gyökeres, who we've got, and you're bringing an Eze? I've banged on about Eze for about 4 years, even when he's at QPR. and he wants to come home. The player wants to come to Arsenal. He is the type of game changer. He's the type of player. Damn, we don't have that at Arsenal. We need more ball carriers. He's a beautiful player to watch, by the way. Now, whether you want to believe whatever sources you want to believe in terms of him coming here, it is dependent on player sales, Dan, because you can't just keep buying. You need to move players on. And when Berta's fully settled, and when I mean fully settled, I'm talking about a year, maybe 18 months into the job. Because, Dan, we have been absolutely rotten selling players. Rotten. Not great at all. And it does hinder us quite a lot. And it's been the case for a number of years. So that's one thing I'll be looking at with Berta. And I've said it before with Martinelli, quickly before I finish up. He's 23, 24 now, I believe it is, right? And I always go back to this. I've said it time and time again. We played Manchester United technically, I think it'd be 3 seasons ago now. We won 1-0. Trossard scored the winning goal at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
People, I implore you, go back and watch the brief highlights on that. Odegaard passes the ball to Martinelli. One of the biggest criticism highlighted to me with him at this age now, irrespective of tactics, you have to get your head up and make better decisions in the final third. He's not doing that for quite a sustained period of time. He's got to be better, and the creativity. And I'm a little bit worried, Dan. I'm going to be honest in terms of we've had a good window, and there's something nagging at me. Don't know if Kenyan Liv feel the same. Like, are Arsenal done in the window? Because Eze has to come in with player sales, by the way. And if there's one player, I've said it for a few years now, if there's one player in Arsenal starting 11 who would be surplus to requirements in terms of getting good money into the club, it is 100 million% Gabriel Martinelli. Now, that's going to hurt some fans because they're very sentimental towards him. But I don't see an upturn in these performances at Arsenal. And they're not going to get any better. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just my opinion. It won't get any better, whether that's because of the manager's tactics or Martinelli's personal development. That's just my opinion, man.
Nah, your opinion's valid. And I've got to be honest, Liv, obviously you're nodding there in relation to, Martinelli being sold. I think, to be fair, you've got to be better at player sales when it comes to players like Martinelli, players like Kivior, who I don't really want to see leave. But if we get the right money, sometimes you've got to say yes. And Chelsea and Liverpool have got a hell of a lot of money for players they didn't want. I got 65 M's for Havertz, 52 now for Madueke, over 60 for Mount. They've just sold João Felix for, I think, close to 40. They're looking at getting rid of Jackson for 60. Liverpool, likewise, have sold Quansah for 35 M's. They've sold Darwin Nunez for 60, Diaz for 65. Previously, they got Jordan Ibe and Ruben Brewster sold for crazy money for young kids, man. So we've got to get better at player sales. And I think if there was a bid that came in close to 50 to 55 for Martinelli, I'd be kind of disappointed if the club didn't sell him for that, because I do think that could be spent towards a bigger player, whether it's an Eze, whether it's put towards Rodrigo money or somebody like that is going to take us to the next level. And I'm a Martinelli fan. I really like him. But I've got to be honest, he's really disappointed me, if I'm honest with you. And I think player sales now, Zinchenko, we're not going to get a lot of money for. Fabi Vieira, likewise. Reece Nelson, likewise. I don't think we're going to get a lot of money for these guys, Liv, but I think we've got to get better at Arsenal, got to get better at player sales. And I'm looking at Berta to improve on that, mate.
Yeah, completely agree. We have the biggest net spend in the whole of the Prem this summer, which means we've done a lot of buy-in and not enough selling. We might be all right FFP wise, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, yeah, I completely agree with you. For me, it's like, it's between, do you sell Martinelli or do you sell Trossard? And for me, it's a clear sell Martinelli, and not because I don't love the guy and I don't appreciate what he done 22, 23 season. I understand all of that, but it's very apparent that things aren't getting better, right? So then you've got to be ruthless, and you've got to be ruthless. And I don't think Arteta is ruthless enough, not just in selling players, but like, for example, towards the end of the season, last season, taking Odegaard off when perhaps he needed to come off, or all these little bits. I feel there's an element of stubbornness and a lack of ruthlessness. And for me, I would keep Trossard. I'm aware there's an age gap, and you're thinking, all right, Martinelli could still be developed maybe, but we've not seen any improvement in a very long time. And for me, Trossard aids this squad on where we are lacking so badly already on the left. If we get rid of Trossard and we keep Martinelli and we don't bring in, you know, a Rodrigo or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. And I will just, I'm struggling now with, personally, for a few reasons with Arteta. I've always been very pro Arteta. But things like this now, you can't blame the manager, the owners anymore. It's coming to a point where there are things that we can talk about on this channel. There's things we can't. But I've got a few issues now with this man and the way he's going about things. And we're about to get flung right back into a season now, trusting again that hopefully we'll pull something out of the bag. But at the end of the day, if we don't sort these fundamental issues, offloading players, right, and bringing in quality players, especially on that left-hand side, it doesn't matter if we've got a Gyökeres or a, you know, we'll be in the same boat. We'll be second again, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Second again, LA is not what I want to be hearing anybody singing. Trust me. That song is vile, if I'm honest. However, look, Kenya, let's move towards the weekend. I know your Wi-Fi's dropped out. You sound off.
Yeah, I should be better now, guys. Sorry, yeah. I apologize.
Nah, it's calm. It's calm. You're all good. Look, the Athletic Bilbao game is going to be an interesting one, right? Because I do believe that we're going to see, hopefully, a team similar to the one that we're going to be putting out at Manchester United at Old Trafford. Now, I hope that's true. What I don't want to be seeing is on the weekend, I don't want to be seeing, it's tomorrow, isn't it? I don't want to be seeing Marino and Norgard trying to get some fitness in midfield, or Zinchenko putting in the shop window at left back, and, Kivior, if he's getting a couple of minutes in, I don't want to be seeing all that, if I'm honest. I need to see Timber and Gabriel. I need to see them up to fitness. I want to see Gyökeres starting and getting more minutes. I want to see Zubimendi, Rice, and Ødegaard all in midfield, if that's the trio we're going with at Manchester United. Do you think we're going to get that more tomorrow? Do you think the side that he picks is going to be similar to the one that starts at Old Trafford?
I don't think so, if I'm being honest. I think you mentioned Gabriel and Timber. I mean, from what I know, Calafiori, Timber, Havertz, Gabriel, they all trained today, which is obviously a positive. He might just be thinking, look, it might be better to just bring those type of players on. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I thought Gabriel looked a bit rusty. And he could do with some game time. But I do think we'll see Victor Gyökeres, I think, for sure. I don't know if we'll see the likes of Madueke or something. I think those type of players will come off the bench, but I do expect to see someone like I want to see Zubimendi start. I want to see Declan Rice. I want to see Ødegaard, because one thing I would say about the last Gyökeres games is that he didn't get to play with Ødegaard, for example, who would actually be his main source of creativity. He didn't really get that midfield experience, and I think these games are a good test to have a feel of what we're going to be about. We play Man United in about 8 days or something like that. That's very quick. And I'm looking at how Man United are building their team, and you're starting to feel a bit worried. So, they have to go. And then as well, I think based on how we played against Villarreal, not saying there's pressure, but obviously there's a bit of murmurings around. Obviously, we're kind of murmuring now about style of play and stuff like that. So we got to see a good game against Athletic Bilbao, who were also just beaten twice in the same day by Liverpool. So, I think it's important tomorrow to see a good team selection, and as well for us to kick on and actually score some goals and not concede.
Facts. Look, Albert, the team news will be coming out around about 4:45, I think, usually around that time tomorrow for a 5 p.m. kickoff. Let me ask you, what team would you like to see 1 to 11 tomorrow starting against the Athletic Club Bilbao? Talk to me, man.
Oh, dear. I'll kind of touch on a bit of tomorrow, but also kind of going into the Man United game. I don't know how you feel about the defence in particular, Dan, because big up Sophie. I'm not take credit for this, because I had conversations with her about it. She was saying, as well as Lewis-Skelly has done, and he, bursting onto the scene and playing well, obviously left back's not his natural position, and sort of going into sort of maybe the beginning of the season, it might not happen tomorrow. You could possibly play. You probably could play Timber at left back, Ben White at right back. So it's obviously to get that combination play with Saka, and obviously Gabriel and Saliba defensively, sort of going into sort of the core start of the season. So I don't know what you think about that. In terms of midfield, Kenya kind of touched on it really in regards to, I think that what kind of infuriated Arsenal fans the other day was, the amount of substitutions made, which I understand it, but you want to see Gyökeres on the pitch with Zubimendi and, some of the other major signings, because that's we're hoping that's going to make the difference. So I know I haven't necessarily given you 1 to 11, but I think for me, what I kind of want to see tomorrow, whoever does start or play, Dan, is we seem to have lost. I don't know how you feel about this, guys, but what's happened to the partnerships within the side, man, from like the 2022 season? What's happened to the interchange? It's completely gone. But again, I think that maybe comes from the instruction of the manager, because Dan, I don't know, Erdegaard's the captain, right? But is he being told that you only got to pass the ball to the right hand side of the pitch? That can't be right. That cannot be right. But then I think to myself, Arteta is kind of a control freak in that sense. And Dan, you mentioned this actually. So I'm going off a bit on tangent, but I think in terms of Mikel sort of on the touchline, when I first noticed it, sort of the micromanaging sort of thing. I remember we played Newcastle, it'd be 3 seasons ago now. It was a 0-0 draw at the Emirates. Referee was awful, but anyway, Arteta, he lost it on the touchline. That's the third time I said, the players looking at that are thinking, it would piss me off. Like 5 minutes into a game, 3 minutes into a game, 10 minutes into a game, he's on the touchline just remonstrating, and I'm thinking, what have you got to tell the players 5 minutes into the game that they're not doing? You've got to stop doing that. That would annoy me. So I don't think he's going to change. He's actually got better, to be honest, which sounds strange, but in terms of the team, I just want to see a better sort of. I want to see a better flow, moving the ball quickly. That's what we want to see. Don't be going to games with a Kindle to stay awake. It needs. I'm hoping it gets better, Dan, because luckily I'll be able to watch the game tomorrow because I'm off. I'm not working, but I'll be looking forward to it in a way, Dan. But I'm not really. But I just want to see something a bit different, things that are implemented a bit more, and hopefully my guy Glock 14 gets on the score sheet, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what we all want to see, man. We're all desperate to see that, if I'm honest.
Exactly.
Gyökeres scoring, Gyökeres starting, Gyökeres scoring. And I don't know what you think about it, Liv, in terms of the starting 11. Do you think it will be similar to Old Trafford? What are you hoping to see? 1 to 11, goalkeeper to striker. Is there anyone that you absolutely need to see, or any department you want to see?
I think what I really want to see, but not going to see, is a switch up in the gameplay. So the only change that's going to come maybe is personnel in each position. I think probably Gyökeres might see a few more minutes, but as I said, I'd like him to use this time to experiment with, using other channels and other tactics, because I think, as I said, you can bring some of these players that we brought in are pretty much like for like, if not maybe slight improvements. But it's pre-season, right? And we've taken a lot of time doing some deals that didn't need to take all the time that it took, right? So some of these players should have been with us earlier. And I understand people are complaining that Gyökeres only got 50 minutes in the last game. But at the end of the day, he just got here. He had like one training session. So what are you going to do? But then again, that's like, we should have got this done before. Even Zubimendi took time, whereas we was promised him in January. He was even putting it out for Real Madrid at one point. And you're like, what's going on? I thought we had that unlocked. So I understand, look, Arteta's very regimented, and we'd like to see a lot. And I think a lot of people like to see our starting 11 for Man United bang on against Bilbao. I'm not in that mind. Use this time as much as you can to see what other combinations we can do. And if he uses that effectively, then I'll be happy with that. If it's not our starting 11 for United. But we are not ready. I don't believe after Bilbao, regardless of the switcheroos, I don't think we'll be ready either. So it's a difficult one, really.
It is. I mean, look, we go to Old Trafford and they've got a new team as well that have hardly played. Obviously, Sesko's come in the door. They've got Cunha and Mbeumo at the moment who are trying to get fit. Manchester United are looking to get Ugarte. And I've heard today they might go for Wharton if they can't get Baleba. Sorry, not Ugarte, Baleba. They're looking at going for Baleba. If they can't get Baleba, they're looking at Wharton. I mean, Man United are serious at the moment with their transfers, it seems. But look, I don't know what you think, Kay, right? I mean, I'll put together this. I'll bring it up on screen. I'll put together what I think the team could be to start and what I think it might be to start. But I don't think these are going to get anywhere near 90 minutes because a lot of them aren't fit. Obviously, David Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis-Skelly, Zubamendi, Rice, Erdegaard, Saka, Madueke, and Gyökeres. I think they're the kind of players that people are looking at potentially starting. Now, a lot of them won't get 90 minutes. Gabriel, Timber, Madueke definitely won't because they haven't been anywhere near fit enough. But I don't mind him starting something like this because at least we've then got the Department of Defence midfield and at least two of the three attackers that we think is probably going to go alongside for Manchester United. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd actually be happy to see this team. I think we need to see it. Do you know what I mean? This is potentially the team that will be starting every game of the season. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people talk about Madueke and say, oh, he's a backup. For me personally, Madueke is not a left winger. He can play left wing, but not very well, if I'm being very honest. But I don't think you spend 52 million on a backup. But I mean, we need to see this team. We actually need to see what it looks like. We need to see how it fits, what works, what doesn't work. I do think, though, someone like Kirill might come in, or maybe even someone like Mosquera, which I'm not sure about you guys. I actually liked what I've seen of him so far. I think he's looked really, really good. And that's a good signing considering we only got him for about less than 20 million pounds or something like that. But, you know, definitely, I think for me, what's most important is obviously Victor Gyökeres, but that midfield for me is the most important. That's definitely that we need to see how Rice, Zubamendi, Odegaard interact, how they're going to do together, because essentially this is a completely different midfield. You know, we have no Jorginho, no Partey anymore. So it's important, especially for someone like Zubamendi who's coming into a new league, to see if he can get up to the pace of a Premier League. I know it's not a Premier League game, but as you said, you know, Man United is not that far away.
No, it's really not. Really not. It's mad. It's mad to think that we're like, he needs fitness.
It's like 8 days away. It's a week away, essentially.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I know you mentioned Man United. That team's not really played a lot together. One thing you can say about it is that Cunha and Mbeumo are Premier League proven. Do you know what I mean? They know what it's like to play against Arsenal because they've been doing it upon seasons. Whereas someone like Gyökeres, Zubamendi, Mosquera, etc., these are players that are coming from foreign leagues, essentially, don't really know what maybe the speed of play is like, or might not be used to it. And as well, they've got to learn how we play, which, well, if they can maybe come up with something, maybe convince Arteta to dead that style of play, that would be good as well.
Liv, Albert, what you both saying about this, Liv and Albert, about this 11? Like, is this something similar we're going to see, or do you think it's definitely not going to be this strong?
Go on, Liv. Go on.
I'm only a quick note. I'm real happy with this going forward. The only thing it would be for me, I don't know what it is about Ben White. No, I do know what it is. Yeah, I really do think he's so important for that right-hand side. And Tim, I think they're both, Timber and him are amazing. And like, what a great decision to have to make between the two. It's so strong, the pair of them. I just wonder, like, Timber being slightly, can you even say he's more injury prone? Because Ben White was out as well. It's a difficult one. I'd personally go Ben White, but to put forward our strongest team without perhaps getting in, which we hope we're going to get the left winger in. So yeah, Madueke can stay there. This Zubamendi and Rice, we haven't seen that. We need to see that. We need to see how that's going to work. So I think that's, for me, the most important part in that midfield there.
Yeah, Albert.
Yeah, Dan. It's kind of not rocket science. Like, these players need to build relationships and partnerships. But the Madueke thing's interesting because I don't know what you guys think or people in the chat, but one of the criticisms I had of Martinelli is his end product. That's the same thing with Madueke. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of baffled me about the signing. I'm not in charge of the finances at Arsenal, so it doesn't really, that's above my pay grade. But it's just strange to bring in a winger to the club where, you know, the issue we have with Martinelli in terms of his end product, we have the same with Madueke. Listen, he may come here and bang, for example. Obviously, better player from the right, but Dan, I don't think you're too far off. I actually think Martinelli will start instead of Madueke. Personally, I think that's. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. If we're going to be really, really honest, because Mikel is obviously quite. He's very robust, and the whole thing about, you know, the work off the ball. It's ingrained in him. So I definitely see Martinelli starting. I would love to see Gyökeres start, but Arsenal fans, I'm telling you now, do not be shocked if Kai Havertz does start on Sunday.
I agree. That's a likely situation.
Yeah, I think no, just because Kai Havertz is just only trained today, I don't know if we'll see him start. And then Liv, I wanted to mention something. You was mentioning about Ben White. I think we need to remember that Nico Williams is coming to the Emirates, fam. And one thing I would say about Ben White, I love Ben White so much. One thing about me, I'll never diss Ben White, but put him up against anyone with pace, he gets cooked every single time. You look at that first goal, those first two goals came from basically because Ben White was so high up the pitch, he just got beaten by his man. And, you know, next thing you know, it's the goal threat. Is that really, look, I know it's a friendly, but is that really what we want to see against someone like Nico Williams that we know is very powerful, very fast, very skillful? Look, I think it might be good maybe for Ben White to start, because then as well, he needs to get better at that. He needs to get better at maybe finding ways to lock down wingers that are very fast, do you know what I mean? So
no, I hear that.
I think you make a good point about Ben White and Timber. Actually, I think we forget how strong we are at right back, because they're both very different. I think Ben White for me is very good going forward on the overlap, but Timber is like mustard. Like, he's so good, man. Like, I love Timber. He's one of my favorite players. He was my player of the season last year. He was so good, consistently brilliant defensively. One-on-one defending is outstanding. On the ball, so good. I think and I liked Ben White. I didn't particularly think we needed a right back that was going to leave him dead in the water, but I do think Ben White's shown what he's about in pre-season. I actually think he's been probably one of our best players in pre-season, Ben White. And then you look at obviously Julian Timber coming in, and you're thinking, wow, this is a really good bit of competition. But guys, that's what we need over the whole of the pitch. Like, we need that in every position, a Ben White and Timber scenario, and we haven't got enough of that, if I'm honest. Sorry, Albert, go on, you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, just to add to that, I think sort of touching on sort of what Arsenal done in the window and what we could still do, the incomings and outgoings. In terms of, I would say probably Gyökeres and Zubimendi are the upgrades as such, but I think in terms of our actual window, it's been a good window. But in terms of upgrades, I don't think we've had that many. It's not difficult. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, by the way, but there isn't. With United, it's a bit different because I think anyone they're bringing down definitely an upgrade. But you know, they could do well next season, this season coming. But I think that's the only worry for me with Arsenal in terms of two of the guys we've got in for me are definite upgrades. But the others are coming.
No, man.
What are you saying, Kay? You disagree?
I disagree with that a bit. I think Christian Norgard, I love Jorginho, but I do think Christian Norgard is a bit of an upgrade. Jorginho is fantastic, but in transition, we're talking about someone that, again, comes up against maybe a younger midfield, can get caught out. I think I've actually liked what I've seen of Christian Norgard this season, this pre-season, and as well, he scores goals. He scores a lot of goals as well. He's really good at set pieces. I think that's an upgrade. And I think Kepa's a massive upgrade on Neto, who, I'm not being funny. I know Neto, he played one game, but then in that one game, he nearly, handled the ball outside the area. I think we've got an experienced it's Spanish international, won the Champions League with Chelsea, Real Madrid. We're talking about someone that's won things. And then as well, in preseason, I thought Kepa's looked really good as well. So I would say those guys are upgrades. Madueke, I'm not too sure. I think with Madueke, if you're asking me if he's an upgrade on Martinelli, I'm not 100% sure. I do think if you're asking me who's the most talented, I would say Madueke is more naturally talented than Martinelli. I think he's more skillful, brings more to his game. But Martinelli had a poor season last season, but still scored 8 goals. Like, I know that's not the greatest. We've seen Martinelli score 15, but I don't know how many Madueke scored in the league, but it's not that much of a difference. So I think in that regard, in that regard, it's very similar. And, you know, Gyökeres and Zubimendi, I definitely agree, are an upgrade on Partey and Havertz. So yeah, I just had to disagree a bit there.
I think it depends how you look at it, Kay, as well, because like, is Madueke an upgrade on Sterling and Nelson? Yes.
Yeah.
Is, you know, Norgard an upgrade on Jorginho? Not too sure, but I don't think he's a huge downgrade.
It's close,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, Partey, we don't want to mention him too much, but Zubimendi's come in, and I think Zubimendi will probably be no worse, if not better, in terms of how he plays in transition. Mosquera, I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, sorry, Mosquera.
People like Tomiyasu, but Mosquera is better because Tomiyasu may as well be a cardboard cutout because he ain't ever available, right? Exactly. So Mosquera is going to be an upgrade there. So, but I get what Albert's saying. To the first 11, there's only really Zubimendi and Gyökeres that walks in. I think we need to look at, like, maybe we get a Rodrigo. We know that's an upgrade on Martinelli. Madueke, be looking at it, not too sure. Obviously, the Ødegaard situation is massive. Is Eze an upgrade on Ødegaard? Should Ethan or Max Dowman be playing ahead of him at the moment because they look more impressive in pre-season? Like, there's a hell of a lot of question marks, to be fair, and only we will know what we're going to be seeing. But, you know, out of the new players that I don't know much about, Mosquera's the one, if I'm honest, that I've been like, whoa, okay, he looks pretty interesting to me, very intriguing. And I always said when we signed him that this one interested me and intrigued me just for the pure fact that Andrea Berta had a lot to do with it. And this is why we brought Andrea Berta in. It wasn't just to bring in players in the ilk of, you know, Gyökeres. It was to actually look at some of the gems that he bought over at Atletico Madrid that nobody had heard of, like, you know, Diogo Jota, rest in peace. You know, they brought him in. He bought Mateus Cunha in before he was at Wolves. He brought in players like Vasalco. He brought in players like Rodri that no one had heard of at Villarreal. So Dan, I think you've got to look at that.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan. Sorry to come in. It's interesting in terms of Gyökeres coming to Arsenal, because we spoke about this in terms of, I don't expect a relationship to be totally harmonious between the coach and the sporting director. It just doesn't happen in football. So I think us signing Gyökeres when we courted Sesko for quite a long time. Yeah, Leipzig messed us around and whatever, but I think that's a very, very interesting dynamic how it's going to play out. And usually, Dan, when a coach doesn't get his way, there's only one outcome.
It's very true. It's very true, bro.
Watch your space.
Yeah. I think watch this space. It's quite a good last question to ask the panel, actually, I suppose. Before I do that, let's bring in Suj with a super chat. Big up to you, bro. Says big up Dan, Albert, Kenya, Liv, and the chat. Run the likes up and subscribe. We need at least 400 likes for the quality content and work. Big up to everyone that's in the house. We've got 530 of you in here. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe and that you're following everybody on the panel as well. We've only got over 200 likes. We need to hit over 300 likes by now. So make sure that we do that and hit the likes up and hit subscribe as well, because I'm literally over just under 250 away from hitting 50k. So if you can hit subscribe, that'd be amazing, because it's absolutely free. Outgun says the problem isn't left wing, the problem is our incessant need to play an inverted left back. The only player to play consistently well under Arteta at left wing was Pepe. Do you know what's mad? I said to Judges today, or did I say to DG? I might have said to Deluded today, that the last left winger we had that was exceptionally exciting was Alexis Sanchez. And we've always had left wingers. When I was growing up, it was Anders Limpar, then it was Mark Overmars, then it was Robert Pires, and then of course there's Alexis Sanchez. And I don't think we've really had, like, Aubameyang was quality, but it was really a striker playing there. Obviously we had like Arshavin and Nasri and Rosicky and all that when we were first at the Emirates. But since there's like Smith Rowe kind of played there, Martinelli's kind of played there, we've seen, you know, glimpses of Trossard and other players. No one's really held that position down. So left wing's a big issue for me. And in inverting, I don't mind it, but do we have to do it the whole time? Like, can we not overlap? Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you know what? I don't even think the issue is for me, the issue isn't necessarily inverting. It's the fact that we want someone like, if we compare it to when Granit Xhaka was here, Granit Xhaka was kind of still in that midfield space, right? Whereas we're saying to Declan Rice, we want you as far forward as possible. So we've got our maybe Miles who's inverting, but he's like all over the place, which is fair. That's kind of what his job is to be. So when you've got someone like Martinelli, it's like, who's actually in that left-hand side pocket to help him out, to pass to? And if you actually watch it, because we've asked Declan Rice to be so far forward, or maybe sometimes he's drifted over to the right because that's where naturally he wants to be most comfortable, you start to look at that and it's just like, there's a massive gap there. Like you look at Liverpool when Trent was there and you had Jordan Henderson, it worked perfectly because Jordan Henderson used to cover those areas when Trent was going further forward. No, we don't really have that because we're saying to our inverter and to our midfielder, yeah, just go really high up, and that whole left-hand side is just like open. So I do agree there needs to be a balance between, okay, if we're going to invert, then somebody maybe needs to drop a bit deeper in, or maybe whoever our DM is has to be a bit more, has to anticipate that actually you're covering a lot more space, or that's your responsibility. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for me with the inverted stuff because I understood what we were trying to do when Zinchenko was doing it, and technically he's brilliant on the ball, Zinchenko, but defensively he's an absolute disaster. So I can see why we were trying to change, chop and change it, and sometimes we were looking at Ben White trying to invert and stuff. I kind of get a bit annoyed with the whole inverted stuff. I just want to go old school and see some exciting football from Arsenal.
It's getting found out as well, to be honest. It's getting found out.
I think it's found out. I think it's predictable, and I think it's a little bit too micromanaged, Kenya, if I'm honest. I think it's now just allowing, there's no coincidence that Max Dowman and Ethan Nwaneri have looked good because they're fearless, they're allowed to express, whereas Martinelli and Saka have been a lot more micromanaged and a lot more kind of robotic and coached. And I can just see these. I don't want him to coach you out of Ethan and Max because we love watching that,
Dan, there's a lot of coaches that are responsible for that. Amarim's like that, Pep's like that, Arteta's like that as well. Like my big up Sophie in the chat, like I said, the popcorn footballers, it's a thing of the past almost, man.
Yeah,
it is.
Unfortunately, you're right. Unfortunately, you're right. Yeah. Look, let's end on this question. The first 6 games, I'm not going to do the whole, do you want Arteta to stay? Do you want him to go? Because I think we've done that to death, man. Like, let's talk about the first 6 games because they're very difficult, by the way, people. Yeah. I know people will laugh at Leeds and Forest at home and say that's a given, but they ain't. Trust me, every game is difficult. And the way we're playing, again, we lost to Villarreal's B team, right? So let's just calm down if we think we're going to waltz past Leeds and Forest for easily, yeah? I'll start with UK. We've obviously got tough games in the first 6. How much pressure is there going to be under the manager to get things right in this first 6 games? Because I know that if we don't have it too well, it's not season over and it's done. But we will be playing catch up to potentially a Liverpool side that look electric, Chelsea that have massively improved, Manchester City that people are saying are back. And that's without looking at the other teams of Newcastle, Villa, Spurs and United who could all play catch up as well. Yeah. How important is this first 6 games, mate?
Yo, man, we've got the hardest run, in my opinion. I know people say Man United's run is really hard, but based on the pressure, based on what we need to do, I think we've got the hardest run in. We've got Man United first day, Liverpool, I want to say Man City, Newcastle. Those are away games as well, most of those. The pressure is, if we were to even drop points on that first day to draw, I think the pressure would be like, do you know what I mean? We know what our fan base is like already. Imagine having to go into Liverpool away or whatever, and you're like, "Rah, we've only got 4 points, or we've only had 3 points." That's So I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think the pressure of these 6 games, it could be not a make or break, but it sets the tone of how the players, the fan base, and the manager, how the seasons are going to pan out, because we don't have the opportunity to drop points. Look at Liverpool last season. They dropped points towards the end of the season mostly because they'd already won the league. Other than that, the only team they'd lost to was Forest. So the pressure is very, very high in those first 6 games, definitely.
Yeah, what you said, Liv?
Yeah, I think second to Kenya, it's obviously we have a difficult time here. I'm just looking at it again, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God.
It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty.
On that, realistically, I'd take 3 wins, from the first 6, 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, or 4 wins, a draw, and a loss. And that loss is obviously Anfield. They've done what they needed to do this season. They've improved. They're the title holders, and they have improved. And I think out of all the top 5, they've improved the most. But all that top 5 has also improved so much. Everyone's got new banging players in, so it's not going to be some easy stroll in the park. I'm telling you now, and especially if we don't get anybody else. So yeah, 4 wins, hopefully.
It's interesting, Albert, because if I ask you this, there's 18 points available in those first 6. I'm not going to ask you how many points you think we'll get. I'm going to ask you a different question. How many points do you think we have to get for there to be zero pressure on Mikel Arteta in his first 6 games? There's pressure on him to win stuff, I get that. But just solely on those 6 games, for Arsenal fans not to lose their minds already in that first 6, give me a number that you think it would be that Arsenal fans would say, do you know what, actually, I'll take X amount of points from those first 18 points available in the first 6 because it's been a tough start. How many do you think that number is, bro?
Just have a quick look. That's some people are very ambitious, 15, 16. What I think we'll get, personally, 18 points available, yeah. I think we will get 12. Don't ask me to. I'll have to look at the fixtures again, but yeah.
I think
yeah, I'd say about 13, to be honest. I probably agree with you, Albert.
Yeah.
So 13, it's good. It's a tough start, and Pep is hurting from last season. That doesn't happen to him where he manages any club, Dan. That's not going to happen again. Trust me. With his CV, the Premier League is difficult to win anyway. And Dan, you know what? It should be bloody hard to win, and it make it even more satisfying if the Arsenal went and gone and done it, for example. But Dan, for me, you know me long enough now. The 3 points I want every season, and believe me, it's not Tottenham, it's Anfield away. It's been so long since we've gone there and won. I think I probably still was in education back then, to be honest. That's not how long it's been. But that's one place I want 3 points, man. 100%. It's a tough start. Newcastle away. We don't do well there. We don't. Man City at home. They've got some fresh blood in the team. Ryan Cherky's a baller, by the way, for them. Reinders is there, obviously. Rodri's back. It's going to be tough, man. So Arsenal fans, buckle your seatbelts in. Get your tin hats on. It's going to be rough. The press, in terms of Mikel, Dan, before I quickly finish up, I'm not a body language expert, but some of the stuff I was hearing towards the back end of last season, I just wanted to reach through the screen and just throttle him. Some of the things he was saying, I just like, you're not helping yourself.
No, you weren't helping, was he? You weren't helping us fans either. I was like, why would you say that?
Yeah, and sort of the comments talking about it's up to certain relevant people at Arsenal to get the players in, and I'll be looking at his post matches and press conferences very, very closely more than any time because the pressure's on. It's cooking for him. Big up Sophie in the chat. She talked about Dan. You saw the stream done because if you criticize Mikel, it's a huge problem in our fan base. And I'm not even the most vocal person when it talks. You come to sort of put up the manager, and criticizing him, but the pressure's on and he's feeling it. You saw that last season. It's going to be even ramped up even further in the first 6 games. You're the manager of Arsenal Football Club. Of course, there's going to be pressure. You need to deliver. Danny's a very, very lucky man, because there's not many managers in world football that get a 7-year run at a big club.
It's crazy, bro.
And don't get moved on. He's very lucky he's got the owners he's got. He's very, very fortunate. It's not to say, people will say, oh, look where we've come from. Yeah, but times move on. Football's a short career. You have to have something tangible to show for it. And in that form comes trophies. We've moved past the progression phase, man. It's time to start delivering.
Yeah,
I agree, bro. I really do. And my thoughts. Everyone knows my thoughts. There's no much point of me saying it anymore, man. But deliver. Time is now. Deliver, or it's time to go. And that's the honest way I see it now. And if I'm honest with you, the way I see it, if we don't change the way we playing right now, I honestly only really see Leeds as the absolute given of 3 points. So I need to see people 100% changing the way we're playing attack-minded wise, because I'm not seeing anything that gives me faith that we're going to take 3 points at Old Trafford, like guaranteed. I definitely don't see the confident taking 3 points at Anfield. And Newcastle and City aren't a given. Crikey, I know Newcastle might lose Isak, but we ain't beat them for God knows how long.
Yeah.
And then you've looked at the scenario of Leeds and Forest. Well, Forest are one of the hardest teams to come up against under Nuno. You can easily get Nuno'd. Yeah, I know they've been poor in pre-season, but there's a lot of teams, even including Liverpool, that got Nuno'd. So,
yeah,
Leeds are the only ones I'm looking at, and I don't know what they're like yet, if I'm honest, as a Premier League side.
Man.
So this could be a horrific 6 games or a wow, we really do look good 6 games. It really is that simple. So I hope it's the latter. I really do. I really do. But look, we're going to leave it there, people. Big up to every single one of you that's come on. Big up to every one of you that's been in the chat. Big up to all your super chats and your comments and interactions. Albert, thanks for coming on, my bro. Bit of last minute super sub. How can people follow you, bro?
Dad's good to be back, man. Big up to the chat. It's been a while since we're back on there. Own channel, Albert JTV. There is another Albert JTV, and that person is not me. He'll tell the difference. It's definitely not me. But no, big up, Foxy, for having me on. Looking forward to doing the watch alongs on your channel. I always say it, Dan, man. The proper South East London comes out of me during the watch alongs, man. So be entertaining, man. But people, come subscribe to Albert JTV, and big up to Liv and Kenya, man. Good to
big you up, bro.
No, I love that, bro. Love that. Liv, thank you for coming on again. We'll have to get you on more regularly. How can people follow you? What you got coming up?
I've not got any football channel or anything like that. I've just got my little Instagram. It's Olivia M for Mike Simpson. Yeah, that's me. Things are coming. Things are in the work. I've got a YouTube channel, Liv Talks Football. There's just nothing on it. So if you want to get following it, it's going to be happening the next few weeks. Then maybe that'll apply some more pressure towards me to actually get something on there. So that would be great.
This is the right season to do it, Liv.
Yeah, man.
I know. I've got to.
The time is always now, Liv. The time is always now. So come on, big up to you, man. Make sure you're following Olivia on all socials. And Liverpool Talks Football. And Kenya, Kay, what you got coming up?
Nothing much really. Just hopefully doing more content on a range of different channels. Just nothing special. But hopefully I'll be at the game this weekend. But nothing crazy. Yeah.
I love that. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And appreciate all of you. We're going to send you over to Dan United, who's lapping it up at the moment about United content. So we're going to redirect over there. So go and spam his chat with 12th Man raid, Dan Potts raid, whatever you want to say, and go show him some love. And big up to everybody. We're going to be out of here, and hit the subscribe button. We've only got like 230 of you now to get to 50k, and I need to hit it before we play Man United. So please hit the subscribe button. It's free. Hit the likes, and we're out of here. We'll see you next time, people. Laters.